Welcome back to the channel, guys. So the talk right now of the town is turbo fog. And for those of you who don't know what turbo fog is, I'm going to go over it. I built the deck. I changed a couple things, very mild, if anything, really. And I've been playing it a lot. The deck, it's got to be the most annoying deck, I think, that was ever built in recent history. Someone slapped it together at one of the GPs, I believe, last week. And, man, I'll show you guys an example of what the deck does after I go over what's all in the deck. It's very expensive. It's not cheap, but it just kind of locks up a game and you take endless turns. Basically is how it works. So here's what's in the deck. For starters, we got 3 search for Escantas. This is going to help you get to the cards you need in the deck. Card draw, all that good stuff. Haze of Pollen. This is a key to the deck. You're preventing, it's like a fog. Prevent all combat damage that will be dealt this turn. Plus it's got cycling. I mean, you can use that depending on what kind of deck up it gets, really. But it comes in handy. It slows down your opponent, especially if they're aggro or, you know, just hasty as all get out and is coming at you swinging. You can slow their roll with this. Root Snare, basically same exact thing without cycling. There's 2 play sets of each of those. Beneath the Sands, you got play set of these, 3 to bring out. You just search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tap, shuffle your library with cycling 2. Because you're going to need lands. You're going to need stuff really quick. Gift of Paradise, you got total of 4. Why I broke it up, one's M19, one's from Mom and Cat, don't ask. But we're running a total of 4 of these. Again, it helps with a little bit of life too. You gain 3 life, but you add 2 mana of any one color when you enchant a land with it. So we're running a play set of Gift of Paradise. Next up, we got Karn. I got 3 in the deck. The normal deck, I believe, ran 2. Karn, Scion of Urza. We all know what he does. Basically, he is one of the win conditions. Once you start taking these ridiculously long, endless turns, and you get your card draw ability with him, of course, then you start flooding the board with your construct artifact tokens, and then they just become this crazy army. It's ridiculous. Teferi, he's like the heart and soul, really, of the deck. He's got a lot to do with the deck, especially once you get his ultimate off. That's when it gets chaotic. But him able to draw cards and then also untap 2 lands. Basically, you can tap out all your lands, untap 2 at the end, and you could, if you have an instant Root Snare or your Haze of Pollen, you can always fog your opponent when he attacks. So that's why Teferi is really cool. But also, -3, put target non-land permanent into its owner's library, 3rd from the top. I mean, if something's really, irking you, I guess you can use that. It's -8. You get an emblem with whenever you draw a card, exile target permanent and opponent controls. That's the heart and soul. You get to that thing, I mean, you locked up the game, essentially. Play set of those. Karn's Temporal Sundering, 6-drop. Like I said, you're going to need a lot of mana for this one. Target player takes an extra turn for this one. Return up to 1 target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. Exile Karn's Temporal Sundering. It's just another addition to Nexus of Fate. But Nexus of Fate really is a stupid, busted card in a deck like this. And let's just read it. For those of you who don't know, Nexus of Fate. Take an extra turn after this one. If Nexus of Fate would be put into a graveyard from anywhere, reveal Nexus of Fate and shuffle it into its owner's library instead. Alright. And then we have Nissa, Steward of Elements. I'll get back to that in 1 second. Another way to look at cards and scrying and all that, and then also it does create some elementals for you when it's -6. However, Nexus of Fate. So how this all works. You take an extra turn after this one, but because we are going to be just taking turn after turn and just blocking up the board with BS and Haze of Pollen, and even tokens from Karn, and even some tokens of Steward of Elements over here. what's going to end up happening is Nexus of Fate gets to... you go through your library, okay? When you're down to only a few cards in your library, Nexus of Fate never goes away. Even when you're at like 10, I mean, you got the game locked up. It just doesn't go away. You just keep bringing it out, and you just keep taking endless turns. It's infinite. The most annoying infinite deck out there. Problem being, it can be a pain in the butt sometimes to get there. You really have to have the right card draw to pull this off. I would not say it's very consistent. Some people might argue that it's not bad, but I mean, I've seen this deck get blown out before many times. I've played it about 10 times. I've had success about 3 of those occasions, maybe 4. The opponent usually just ends up quitting. Well, that's the deck. Now I want to show you, oh yeah, also land base. I changed my land base. This is not the land base the gentleman used, but that's because I didn't have all the lands I needed. I didn't want to spend too many on just lands. As you can see, I tapped out my mythics and I tapped out my rare slots there. So in my version of it, I'm running 2 plains, 3 islands, 2 forests, 3 glacial fortresses, 3 irrigated farmlands, 2 scattered groves, 4 sun petal groves, 3 botanical sanctums, and 3 hinterland harbors. Sideboard, I just threw in 2 settle the wreckage, but your opponent's always going to be expecting that. It really doesn't matter. 2 carnage tyrants, he can help a lot, I guess. And good old Nizal, Primal Tide. It can't be countered. You have no maximum hand side, kind of cool. Whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, draw a card, discard 3 cards, return this guy to your, return him to your hand. Let's play a match. Let's see what you guys think. Turbo Fog. Personally, I don't care for this deck whatsoever. Like, at all. I don't like really slow decks or whatever. And this is the epitome of a slow deck. It just doesn't do anything for me. And it gets its butt kicked to aggressive style decks. For sure. But we're going to give it a little run for its money, eh? Not helping. That Gift of Paradise out, need the Karn out. Then you want to get the Karn out. It's not going to do a whole lot unless you can protect them. You can only protect them for so long. Oh boy. What am I supposed to do? Take it. I just think the deck's, I just think it's boring. But once you get to the point where you're actually, like, able to control the whole match and get those ridiculous amount of turns, it's really annoying. Your opponent does not like it at all. It's he usually ends up conceding before it gets to that point. But like in this matchup, there's just not much I can do. And if I drop a Karn, he just gets destroyed. Nothing I can do right now. And he's running a very basic vampire deck. I mean, sure, when the deck actually goes off, cool, but getting to that point, it takes forever. You're going to lose a lot more matches than you're going to win with this deck. I mean, it's cool and all, but what are we really doing? We were able to draw a card with that one. Another Nexus of Fate. I mean, this will buy us a tiny bit of time, but that's it.
Our actions determine the course of history.
Like, that root snare is only going to do so much. Of course, we need a Temporal Sundering. He gave it to us. That's fun. We're just not that deep in. I mean, one card in the graveyard, not good. And there's just nothing I can do against all this right now. And a lot of you might be thinking, oh, we'll settle the wreckage. Yeah, but your opponent's almost always anticipating you're going to be using a Settle the Wreckage. Let's see what else we can get.
You may regret that choice.
He'll give us a land. I mean, gotta get rid of something.
This will aid us.
Problem is, we can't keep up with the endless turns for long. Because we still got 42 cards in our library here. We're waiting on him. This happens in a lot of matches too. They will time out. They'll walk away from their computer because they feel that you're wasting their time. So they'll waste your time. I mean, it's like an ultimate control build, but it's just so long and drawn out. I think this guy timed out. But as you can see, this is how the deck works. You make it so your opponents can't attack or no combat damage is dealt using the root snares. And you have your draw abilities with your Karn, and your Teferi. And then you just keep taking endless turns and +1ing your planeswalkers and then smacking stuff into their face, yada yada yada, or removing stuff with Teferi. Very long, very drawn out, very boring. Let me know your guys' thoughts on this deck. I'd love to hear it. This was a very aggressive deck. It came at me. He gave up. He said, "No, I'm good, man. I'm good." I don't like these kind of decks. I don't think they're fun to play with. I think they're absolutely awful to play against. You won't see me do a deck tech on this one again. But there it is. Hope you guys enjoyed. This is what everyone's talking about. Turbo Fog. Not a fan. Hit the thumbs up. Helps out a lot.